Welcome to another edition of Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buc What You Heard. Hey guys, I apologize. Just getting everything back up and running again. I was hearing some echoes on my end, and I just kind of went out and gone back in again. I am back this time. I am going to actually get in here and get in the chat because I really want to hear what you guys have to say. I follow a lot of you guys on Twitter. And I know a lot of you guys follow me on Twitter, so I get to see the comments and a lot of the things that are going on. It's actually been a lot of stuff going on in the off season, so I want to touch on some things. And I know that a lot of people have asked me, well, what is your opinion with the whole Jameis Winston situation? And I'm kind of you're gonna laugh at this. Some people may say it's a cop out or whatever, but I'm gonna say this. I really feel like what you're seeing right now is I don't know. It seems to me like the Bucs. You've got this quarterback. He threw for 5,000 yards. He's done some things. He's done some good things. He's done some things that just kind of make you scratch your head. But at the end of the day, oh, man. So now it's okay. Now you guys should be able to see me. Hopefully you guys can see me. You can see and hear me. All right. Just making sure. Honestly, we just need to sit back, as Peter 747 is saying, sit back and let's see what happens. To be honest, I personally, I've taken this stance that I want to see what happens with free agency. Number one, free agency right now should be the main thing. That if you're a Bucs fan and you're following this team, that should be your focus right now. Because once you get through free agency and you possibly get some key players in here, then you get an idea of how this team is going to start to shape up as you're going into the draft. And I think a lot of people put the cart before the horse. People are talking about, oh, we need this guy, we need this guy. And a good example is Shaq Barrett. A great example is Shaq Barrett, because Shaq Barrett went under a lot of Bucs fans' radar when he was brought in. I was excited. I don't know if you guys can go back and check the podcast if you don't believe me, but I was excited when he came here. I thought that this was a guy who just needed an opportunity to make a difference. XLU Garvey, I don't think so. I think you try to upgrade at the running back position, because as we saw, you just didn't get the running back position, just didn't have the juice. And I can't say if it was a lack of productivity or maybe possibly they just didn't commit to the run. You see the yards that Jameis racked up, over 5,000 yards. And you have to know that the running game was not as impactful as it should have or could have been. I like Ronald Jones. I like what Ronald Jones has done, committed to getting better than where he was his rookie season. I would love to see them bring in another running back, a proven veteran running back, and put those two together. Let's see what they can do. You fix a few things on the offensive line, and again, these are things that Bucs fans right now, you need to be looking at free agency. You don't want to put the cart before the horse and start talking about. I love the mock drafts. I thought I've seen some really creative mock drafts, and I really haven't dug into that. Like Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk. If you're not following them, that would be somebody that I would really get into, because they're going in depth on a lot of these draft picks. I'm curious to see what the Bucs do with free agency with our players. Speaking of Shaq Barrett, I would love to see them bring Shaq Barrett back. A lot of people are high on JPP. I'm good with JPP coming back. I like what he brings to the locker room. I like his style of play. I think the defense picked up when JPP came back off of being injured. And, that's something that I saw. And I think that he would definitely benefit some of the younger players. There are some good free agents that will be available. A guy that I like, and I don't know if he's going to be there or be available, is Leonard Williams. I don't know where we are with that. And, I've been lazy this offseason. I haven't really been doing my homework like I should. But, I wanted to jump on here and let you guys know that I haven't forgot about you, and I appreciate everybody that's been able to, come on and listen. People have asked me, hey, are you doing another podcast? And, it was so frustrating for me, just how everything went. And, you just kind of have to take a step back and regroup. And then you look at all the positives and a lot of things that the Bucs have done better. I mean, a good example is Devin White. Devin White is a guy that really made you forget about Quan Alexander. And I want to ask you guys in the chat, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but what were your thoughts of Quan Alexander, coming back, playing with the 49ers? Do you miss him here in Tampa? Is this a guy that you kind of wish he had stayed to see what he could do? Or are you good with with who we have right now in Devin White? XLU Garvey is saying we really need to keep the front seven together. I understand that. I've watched Ndamukong Suh, and honestly, he made big plays. And I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people may disagree with me, but I was happy to see him in a Bucs uniform over Gerald McCoy. That's just me personally. That's, just watching the game and, watching how he played next to Vita Vea. I was good with Ndamukong Suh being here, but there were some times where it looked like he was gassed or possibly, out of position to make a play, or, you didn't see, max effort. Well, that's just kind of how it looks on the screen. I'm not saying he didn't, but do you go for somebody younger? Do you bring somebody younger in to replace an Ndamukong Suh? And as XLU Garvey says, no, we don't miss him. Devin has already proven himself. Absolutely. Peter747, Quan never really got me too excited except for his last game as a Buc. Devin White was a great surprise for me. Guys, again, and Ron Allen, yeah, he made more of an impact than Gerald did. I'll get back to your point in a minute, Ron. But, when it comes to Quan Alexander, there were so many times. And if you guys go back to not last year, but year before, there was a game where Quan was like celebrating and all this stuff, and he was missing tackles, and he was taking poor angles, and, he was just a liability in the pass game. And it was just frustrating to me. And I know he's a young player, but at the end of the day, everybody talked about, okay, this is your guy. This is the quarterback of your defense. And I really believe, just looking at Devin White, that's an upgrade. It looks like he's catching on to the speed of the NFL now. And he's a guy that I expect so much more out of him this season. And I think that's what we're going to get. But, getting back to Gerald McCoy, and I hate the comparison because, comparing players, you do a disservice to both players, to be honest. But, when Gerald McCoy left Tampa, I was pretty indifferent. And I know a lot of people were emotional. Hey, we should have kept him. We should have did this. We should have did this. And yeah, he played good while he was here. But again, it's the same, it's like you saw the same thing, and it kind of, I don't know. When he left, I wasn't upset about it. And just, watching some of the Panthers games, again, I just wasn't upset about it. So, and you know what, XLU Garvey, I will say this. Gerald McCoy did what we thought he was going to do. Gerald McCoy played good against his former team. Had a bang-up game. 3 sacks in one game. And that was just one game. The rest of the games, the other game that he played against the Bucs, not so much. So he did what I expected him to do. Have a big game against his former team. Hey, I told you so. You guys should have kept me, blah, blah, blah. So again, it was just, it was one of those things. He had that big game, and that was it. He was a liability against the run, and you saw that was very evident. And again, I was happy with the moves that the general manager has made, and they've been pretty sound decisions. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. kind of going back to what Ron Allen said, Quan had those same bad angles in the Super Bowl. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe after 4 seasons, 4 seasons, you have an idea of who a player is. And I would say the one example that goes against that would be Alex Smith, because I thought Alex Smith was a scrub. And Alex Smith got with Jim Harbaugh and, fixed some things. And, he was able to go to Kansas City and have a decent career. So he was better. He ended up playing better than I thought he would. So, but that's neither here nor there. Kind of getting back to this, Quan Alexander was a guy I felt like, maybe it was coaching. Maybe it was, just who he was playing around. I'm not sure. But when you saw him in San Francisco and you saw he had opportunities to make plays, and there were multiple times that it just didn't happen. So, this isn't bash Quan Alexander. I'm happy he got his money. It's interesting that the Bucs let him go, and they went into the draft and got a player who ended up being an upgrade. So props to the Bucs on that. We talked about the running back situation. Is there anybody out there that you guys are, because, a lot of you, XLU Garvey especially, are really watching what's going on in free agency, or, possibly a player that the Bucs can pick up? Any names that you want to throw out there that could come in and definitely help this team in the running game? Because I think that's what the Bucs are missing. I like Peyton Barber. I like this effort, but I really believe that you can upgrade at the running back position. And I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying he is who he is, and I believe that the Bucs could definitely help themselves by bringing in another running back. So there's that. But and Derrick Henry, but he wants the bank. This dude wants Fort Knox for, his services. So again, I don't see, I know the Bucs have a lot of money, but you got a lot of players that you're going to re-sign, and even the idea of Jameis Winston, coming back, it's still the matter of getting him signed. So again, there's like I said, there's a lot of moving parts here. What's interesting to me is all these one year prove it players that they got last year that ended up being pretty good. And now, you have to make decisions. What are you going to do with some of these players? Perriman, I don't know if do you bring a guy like a Perriman back? Is this somebody that you would want to, have back on the team? Of course, Shaq Barrett is the biggest name to me. He is probably the most important free agent that the Bucs have not signed, as far as I'm concerned. I'm looking at, a lot of the other players that the Bucs have that are, unrestricted free agents. And here's a guy I would love to have him back, lock him up for, a multi-year deal. I mean, I think he's gone beyond proving, what he's capable of doing. I would love to see him come back. Again, him, and then you look at the quarterback position. Again, what do you guys think? Do you bring Jameis back? Let Jameis finish what he started, because, he is married to Jason Light. And, you bring in a quarterback coach who, like a Bruce Arians, who, we'll see what happens in this second year. I'm personally, like I said, if they move on from Jameis and bring somebody else in, and it's all about wins and losses right now, I want to see the Bucs go to the playoffs. I don't want to be talking about free agency and the draft right after the regular season is over. I want to be talking about the playoffs. So for me, it's about wins and losses more than who, keeping Jameis here or letting him go. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Perriman, to me, this is the best I've ever seen him play. I've been following him since he was a rookie with the Baltimore Ravens. And it's so funny because a real good friend of mine, he's a Ravens fan. And when Perriman was drafted, he had these locks and stuff in his hair. And I used to call him an old man because I thought he looked like he's about 50 something years old, the way his hair was and everything. So I used to tease my friend about it. And he was laughing at me at the beginning of last season. He's like, "Oh, you got that bum Perriman in there." And I said, he's not going to be good. He ain't going to last, this, that, and the other. And Perriman developed a relationship with Jameis Winston on the field that nobody saw coming. And just what they've developed and what they have, and showing him as the main receiver when Evans and Godwin were hurt, it really, I don't know. I have to say a lot of that has to go on the quarterback and where he's putting the ball more so than what Perriman is doing, and not to take anything away from Perriman, good speed guy. He had me wanting to, kick him off a cliff at the first part of the year, just the way he was playing. And then, you see him come around and develop a lot more and develop that chemistry with Jameis Winston. And, they had some good things cooking there at the end of the season. So, Eric Hardnett, what's going on? XLU Garvey, Perriman needs to come back for our depth at wide receiver. Who do you have behind Perriman? You have Godwin, you have Mike Evans, and and then Perriman. I don't know. You're right. I think they do need to, kind of look at that and see what they've got. What do you think about Jameis Winston, the Bucs coming back? Again, Eric, just like I was telling everybody earlier, it's all about, for me, this season, 2020 is about wins and losses. I'd rather talk about this team going to the playoffs more than anything. If they feel like Jameis Winston can give them the best opportunity to win, then, hey, that's who you go with. If they feel like they can bring in another quarterback who can instantly jump in here and help this team, then that's who you go with, But again, for me, it's about wins and losses. They have enough talent on this team that they should be competing for the playoffs, to be very honest. Let's see. He did make some crazy catches, and that's kind of what I saw. XLU Garvey, Scotty Miller, and Justin Watson. Now, let me ask you this, XLU Garvey, while we're talking about those two guys, there were some key drops in games by both of those guys that could have put him in a position to, win some games. Do you try to find... Do you create competition for that third and fourth wide receiver position? Is that what you do? Do you bring guys in to really push these guys and see what they do? Triple bar, thank you. I'm right there with you. They do, that's we were talking about that earlier with Peyton Barber. You could upgrade at running back right there and definitely help your team to do a whole lot more. So again, that running back position is going to be interesting to watch. Do you bring in a veteran, or do you bring in a rookie to help boost that running game? Low key, let's see facts. Hunt would be a good pickup. Yeah. If he could keep his head straight, man, he would definitely be somebody that you would definitely want to look at. More than enough talent to win on this team. We have more talent than most. Absolutely. How many quarterbacks wouldn't want to have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to throw to? And, they still have, you still have O.J. Howard. I like Cameron Braid a little bit better than I do O.J. Howard, to be honest, but that's just me. And, again, I don't think he's produced as a first-round tight end. So I don't know. It all remains to be seen if he can stay healthy, if he can make those catches, and, if he can continue to contribute to this team. We have to keep competing at wide receiver. Mike gets hamstring injuries every season. You know what? That's a valid point right there. And I think that's kind of how you have to look at it. I remember, when it was just Mike Evans, like his rookie season and his second season, it was just Mike Evans. And, everybody kept getting hurt. Everybody kept going down. And that's the problem with the Bucs. That I've seen. We saw they had a stacked wide receiver core, and then you have Godwin goes down, and you have Mike Evans gets injured. So I don't know. That's just, it's one of those things. You guys are right, and that's why I like listening to you guys, because you're spot on with stuff like this. You do want to keep competition, especially at a key position like wide receiver, because it is very important, especially when you look at how injuries can occur at any time. Kind of getting back to this argument, not an argument, but it's interesting that you guys all say that. I like Cameron Brate. I have always liked Cameron Brate. As far as O.J. Howard is concerned, he just has not produced like earlier I said this, like a first round pick should have, or I thought they would. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's see here. I like Cameron Brate better. Ron Allen was saying at Triple Bar, I like Brate better. We can win if we don't give the rock to the other team. You know what? That's 100% true. Again, that's the elephant in the room. Hey, can you get rid of these turnovers? So I don't know. I think you got such a solid offense. A couple of pieces on the offensive line. I've heard a lot of good things that people have said in the offseason about the offensive line. Do you bring back Dotson? Is Dotson somebody you want to bring back? Or do you upgrade at that position as well? I mean, there is just so much, like I said, there's so many moving parts. And right now, just watching what's happening in free agency is kind of interesting. You look at Greg Olsen. Shout out to Greg Olsen. I'm glad he's out of the NFC South and on to other things other than, playing against the Bucs. So I'm glad he's with the Seahawks. I'm happy for them taking him out of our division, and I'm good with that. Let's see, the Bucs. Would the Bucs get Phillip Rivers? I don't like Phillip Rivers. I've never liked Phillip Rivers. I remember when Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees in San Diego. I didn't like Phillip Rivers. I've never been a fan of his. I think there's like 4 quarterbacks historically. There are 4 quarterbacks that I just cannot stand, and one is Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Donovan McNabb, and goodness, I'm trying to blank. Jake Delhomme. That's the other guy. Hated all of them. And for one reason or another, just couldn't stand any. I can't, like Matt Ryan is obvious. I can't stand that dude. But again, Phillip Rivers has just been a quarterback I've never been a fan of his. So again, we'll see what happens. You know what, David Villanueva, you make a great point. If we trade, it wouldn't surprise me if we trade OJ to move up back into the bottom of the first round. That wouldn't shock me either. Like I said, Cameron Brate is just more of a reliable tight end, and I was really disappointed. I don't know if he was hurt, but I was really disappointed that they didn't use him more last year. Because I think he would have been beneficial. I know they got a lot of use out of him, but just not like they have in the past. I'm checking the chat here. Can the Bucs trade Slay, or can the Bucs trade for Bell? Slay, I know they're asking for a mint for Slay too. That's another guy. It would be nice to have him, but at the same time, I love how these tight ends are progressing. I think the one thing that's missing is a veteran presence. You saw a good example of that with Richard Sherman in the 49ers. And if you go back to 2010, the one thing that really hurt the Bucs is not having a veteran presence in that secondary. And I feel like, that's the one thing that's missing here is that veteran presence in the secondary. But I don't think you need to go all out for the secondary. I think that they've shown with a year under their belt, I think they're going to be fine. So that's not a position that I'm really, really concerned about as much as possibly the offensive line, keeping your front 7, possibly maybe making some changes in that front 7. I don't know. So again, it's going to be fun to watch this. And guys, again, thank you so much for jumping in the chat. I really appreciate you. And I'm just kind of rolling off of what you guys are talking about in the chat. Did you hear Shaq is willing to take less money to stay in Tampa? I think this deal gets done. I know this deal, and what I'm saying. I'm not saying I think. I know this deal is going to get done. I think Shaq has more than proven his worth, and I don't think that this is a. I don't think this is a fluke. I think this is a guy that played behind some really good players in defense in Denver and didn't really get a chance to show what he can do. And I think given the opportunity here in Tampa, he made the most of it. And the guy was a monster. I mean, he was a defensive coordinator nightmare just based on his play. Now, again, he's another player that I expect big things from next season, or this season, excuse me, as we are into this season. And he's going to be somebody that I see the Bucs locking him up very soon. I don't think that, again, I don't think the Bucs let him get away. I think they work it all out. Dub, what's going on? Chris Harris, that would be kind of dope to have Chris Harris here, or somebody like that's the kind of player I'm talking about. A player like that who could come in and definitely help out with some of these younger players. Yeah, I keep hearing a lot of talk about Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater ends up in Indianapolis. I think that he either ends up with the Colts or he ends up with the Chargers. One of the two teams. Rex, what's going on? What's going on, man? I just don't see. I don't know, with all the quarterbacks that are out there available, and I look at all the quarterbacks in the draft, and I just keep coming back to the Bucs re-signing Jameis Winston. And I could be wrong. Again, this is one of those things that I'm just looking at everything here, and with the moves that are being made, Drew Brees decides to stay with the Saints. I think Taysom Hill stays with the Saints, and they work together. But I think that Teddy Bridgewater is the odd man out. I think he ends up with a team like the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, who need a good quarterback to really right their team, because they're really going to be they're starting all over from scratch basically. I mean, when you have a guy like a Phillip Rivers, as long as they have had him. Sean Castillo, they're keeping Jameis one more year. It makes the most sense. I think it would. I think you have to see this through. And I think, again, if they can fix the turnovers. Jameis is who Jameis is. And, I say this every show, every time I'm on, every time Jameis Winston's name comes up. Jameis Winston is a blessing and a curse. That's who Jameis Winston is. Jameis Winston can give you 33 touchdowns and turn around and give you 30 interceptions. I mean, here's a guy who can win you a game, who can march down the field and win you a game, and then turn around and throw a pick six and give away a game. So, again, that's who Jameis Winston is. And I think his issues are fixable. I still do. I just don't think it's happened. But I think that I think he can come around, and I think he'll be just fine. Again, I'm not going to be upset one way or the other if they move on from him and bring somebody in, as long as this team can win. Like I said, it's all about wins and losses for me. And again, it's just, and I'm not, and listen, I'm trying to be as balanced about this and unbiased about this as possible. But when you look at everything, when you look at all the quarterbacks that are out there, Tom Brady's not coming to Tampa. So, I mean, anybody that's got that idea in your head, you might as well get that idea out of your head. Tom Brady is not coming to Tampa. Not going to happen. So, and you heard that here, and I stand by that. If I'm wrong, I'll come back on the air and say I was wrong. But Tom Brady's not coming to Tampa. So, that idea, you can just kind of walk away from that. Dub says, same here. I'm pretty sure he's coming back, which at the end of the year, I was heated at the thought of him coming back. But the more I see the available quarterback market, the more I think it is. It is. That's what's going to happen, man. I don't see any other way around it. I mean, if you go if you go with a draft pick, you're not guaranteed. You don't know what you're getting. You do not. I mean, anybody can say what they want to. This guy is a sure thing. This guy is a shoe in. With the NFL, I can tell you right now, players come in here with, up here, and then you're thinking, oh, this guy is going to be amazing. And then you see how they play, and you're like, no, wow, this guy just couldn't, he couldn't do what he was supposed to do. Could the Bucs trade up for Joe? They would have to give a small fortune, Eric, to get that guy. So, again, this is a team. They got some good pieces. They've wide receiver. The defense is looking a whole lot better. I'm a lot more excited about the defense. And you don't want to go out there and risk it with a rookie coming in, and they have to develop on the speed of the game. And there's so much going on, and the Bucs are trying to win now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Jameis Winston has to give us 12 INTs a year and 30 plus TDs, and we're good. Build in the trenches, and we're in the playoffs. I agree, man. I just, like I said, I want to see him fix some things, like on the offensive line. I want to see him more committed to the run. I know I sound old school when I talk about being committed to the run, but the NFL is a copycat league, and you saw the teams that ran the ball how well they did, and it just in the playoffs, those teams really look good that are able to consistently run the ball, a la Tennessee. Let's see. I was kind of hoping to see more players re-sign by now. Maybe I'm just anxious to make sure that we keep the core of the defense. Dub, I'm going to say this, man. I believe that Jason Light will get these guys signed, and he will upgrade because these guys look at way more film than I do. And, I know that they've missed on some players in the past, but just looking at what they've done over the past couple of years and who they've brought in and how they've fixed some things. I mean, you let Quan Alexander walk, and you bring in somebody, and automatically you've reloaded that position. Adam Humphries goes away, and Perryman shows up on the back end of the season. So, I mean, we can see there's a lot of different things that are going on, and I'm sure that they will address some of those things. Why not get David Johnson, Sean Castillo? I'll tell you this. I've been watching David Johnson since he came back from his injury, and he doesn't look like the same player. He does not. He doesn't. I don't know how to describe it, but he doesn't have that burst, and I don't know if it's being in Arizona playing for the Cardinals or what it was, if he needed a change of scenery. But just from what I've seen of him, I don't know. I just haven't. He doesn't look like the same David Johnson that we saw that was, making plays. But again, maybe it just takes a change of scenery. So I don't know. Be upset to lose Sue and JPP and Shaq Barrett. Like I said, I think that the Bucs are working on these deals, and I think they're going to make it happen. So we'll see. Again, you just kind of have to be patient. One thing I will caution you guys on as well with free agency, all that glitters ain't gold. And what I mean by that, there have been a lot of players made a lot of splashes in free agency, and a lot of stuff just didn't pan out like it was supposed to. There were a lot of players that went first in free agency, and you didn't hear anything from them. So I think they're going to make logical choices, and they're going to bring back people that they feel will help out the most. And they will bring in people that they feel like will be upgrades over some of the people that they already have. So it's just going to be interesting to see what they do. Triple Bar, I'm like you. I think Nassib is going to leave in free agency. He didn't have the season last season I thought he would, but he was good. He fit in real good. Douglas O'Connor, what's going on? Here's a problem. Jameis takes more time to get in sync with his receivers than most. Henceforth, Jameis won't show marked improvement in BA's offense until year 3. So this is what Douglas is saying, that it's possible we won't see this until year 3. Again, it all depends, man. We'll see what happens. I think he will. I think he will definitely improve over last season when they bring him back. So again, I think the turnovers will go down, and I have these expectations. Expect the turnovers to go down, and I expect them to have a better running game to an offensive line to help Jameis Winston with some of the things that he's having issues with. Let's see here. Looking back on last year, free agency and the draft, really had a good offseason. I have to agree with that. Ron Allen, I think we only keep two of the three between Sue, Barrett, and JPP. I would think you would keep Barrett and JPP. Like I said, I could see a Leonard Williams come in here, or there are some other players that are out there that could definitely come in and be an upgrade to an Ndamukong Suh. We have the third most money this year, so we need to get it right this year. Absolutely. Again, they need to sign the players they need to bring back, and they need to make sure that the players that they bring in players that are going to be able to help. So Chris Godwin, Adam Humphries were not names, and Ball out. That's nothing to do with Jameis. I thought that Chris Godwin was a steal of that draft. I was shocked that he was. I was shocked he was there, to be very honest, as far as Chris Godwin goes. And again, he's just one of those players. He's a special player, and he's shown that that's kind of who he is. Oh goodness, Dub says, yeah, I still have Carl Nicks, Eric Wright, Michael Johnson, and George Johnson nightmares. I don't think we make those same mistakes with this front office. Again, I think they've improved as the years have gone on. Like I said, the last couple of years, they've really done well in bringing in free agents that were able to come in and help out. And I think, winning covers a multitude of sins. And I believe that, as the Bucs win more games, people are going to buy into, what's going on here. Again, the coaching staff here has been great. I think it's just up to the players to do what they need to do on the field. And, I think things will get better. Matt Gay cost us the Seahawks game, Giants and Falcons. Facts. This is true. We need Matt Bryant back. No, I think this guy's really pretty close to retirement, to be very honest. Oh, yeah, the Revis deal was a mess. Yeah, that was. But again, that you're talking about two different general managers when you talk about Darrelle Revis. So, yeah, that was one of those deals. But again, what do you guys think? And I've been pretty cool when it comes to the general manager. I haven't really bashed him a lot for anything. And I kind of want to. You guys are in the chat. What do you think of what Jason Light has? Jason Light redeemed himself, with some of the moves that he's made in his first. When you look at his body of work so far, has he redeemed himself? I mean, do you have any trust in him as a general manager at this point? I'd just like to, just drop it in the chat, and I'll definitely drop your name in here. Pretty hard schedule this year. I agree. Did you see Warwick Dunn was given minority share with the Falcons? I don't like the Falcons, but that's really cool of them to do that. Dunn is a legend of a man. Dub, if you know anything about me, I despise the Falcons. Despise them. Arthur Blank is a class act as far as an owner goes. For him to do that, it speaks volumes about his character, and you got to respect that. And they have, when you look at Rich McKay is my favorite general manager. I've seen I think I've seen all the general managers come through the Buccaneers. That's how old I am, in my age and whatnot. But I've seen all the general managers come through the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization, and I have to say, Rich McKay was my favorite. If I can go down the list. I mean, when you look at what he was able to do in building that Super Bowl team, and the team that was competitive throughout the late 90s and going into the 2000s, that was Rich McKay. There was nobody else but Rich McKay. So again, he's like one of my favorites. I don't want to get off on that tangent again because I've had this conversation. I really believe that Rich McKay deserves to be in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Ring of Honor just for what he was able to do with this team to make them competitive again. So, again, it's just one of those things. Getting back to now, I'm off of my rant. All the 2016 draft picks are not even on our team. I don't like him. Triple Bar. I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you. As a matter of fact, the first round pick just got cut from the Houston Texans. So again, you make 100% valid points here when it comes to Jason Light, and it's one of those things. And I'm at this point, who he's brought in, what he's been able to do so far. I'm really hoping that he's doing a lot more with Bruce Arians to work together to bring in some of these picks, to bring in players as opposed to, leaving that to him for talent evaluation. So again, we'll see what happens. I think the draft was good, but bad coaching played a huge part. They look good in college. Yeah, again, man, it is a huge step going from college to the pros, and not everybody makes it. Tampa Supreme 813, what's going on? Yeah, as Triple Bar said, a whole draft class wasted. It kind of set the team back. But again, here we are. I think he has another 2 years on his contract. I think his contract is tied in with Bruce Arians, so they would all be like together, I think. And that's what makes me think that they're going to keep Jameis Winston so that, everybody's like married basically. So I don't know. Eric Harden, can Bruce Arians take us to the playoffs? You know what? I think this is the year that, like I said, these are where my expectations are. I expect this team to go to the playoffs. I don't want to hear another year. I don't want to hear another 2 years. I don't want to hear any of that. I want to hear that they fix some things. The Falcons, Carolina, and New Orleans. This is a team right now. This is where you got to go all in. As Dub said, you got to bet the farm this year. This is where you got to go all in, to be very honest. There's an opportunity to be competitive in the NFC South and potentially win the NFC South. These are my expectations. Again, this is kind of where I'm at with it. And it's going to be one of those things you got to be spot on with the moves that you make. And, you got to hope and pray for no injuries. And I've got my fingers crossed, no injuries. And as we move on. So again, that's just where my expectations are with this team. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of seeing this team lose. I'm sick of watching these games and only to be disappointed at the end of the game. It just gets old. I remember a time, when Raymond James Stadium was packed out and, you could not get a seat in Raymond James Stadium. I remember the tailgate parties out in the parking lot over by Tampa Bay Center. I remember all this stuff, man. And then I look at where this team is now, and it's frustrating. I know, and for fans that go out and buy tickets, fans that are season ticket holders, fans that keep going in, are all in on this team every year only to be disappointed. I just want this team to do better. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not being hypercritical. I'm just being realistic about how I feel about this, and I just want this team to win. Yep, Dub, cherished memories. Absolutely. Bro, I'm here to tell you, I've gone to some tailgate parties that were legendary. Back at that time, Tampa Bay Center, the mall was still there for the most part, and that was just a fun time. Having the practices over at Pep and Ruud Stadium, that was a fun time. When I worked for Verizon, I used to call in sick just so I could go to the practices and watch the Bucs play because it was right over at Pep and Ruud Stadium, and it was pretty close to where I was living at the time, so it all worked out perfectly, man. And those were good times to me. So, one Buck place was over by the airport, and everything smelled like airplane fuel and stuff. And it was crazy, man. It was just a crazy time. But uh, that was a team that they didn't have all the high end luxuries that some of the teams you see now, and they went out with rusty weights and sweaty and a hot weight room and all this other stuff. But they went out and produced, and they went out and performed. You know what I'm saying? Went to the Bucks Redskins playoff game. I've never seen that place rock more than that game for a pro game. Fans were running up the aisles, giving high fives. Everybody was so hyped. That, because I was a season ticket holder, I remember that. I can remember that. So, okay, here we go. Now, this is a good conversation. Tampa Supreme. New uniforms on deck. Have we confirmed this? I've seen both sides of this. I've seen the Bucks put up a hint on Twitter that there may be new uniforms, and somebody commented on EMT Ashley on Twitter. Somebody made a comment on one of her tweets about the uniforms. So it's going to be interesting if they do have new uniforms. I'm excited to see what those uniforms are going to look like. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be one of the off seasons that I'm probably going to have the most fun with, just because there's just going to be so much going on. It's official yet. That's what they said. So I guess we are seeing new uniforms. Really, Triple Bar. Thank you for that. So are you guys looking for the creamsicle? You guys looking for the pewter? You're looking to get rid of the alarm clock numbers? What's the story here? Because I know there's a lot of slander for the current uniforms. I don't know. I think they kind of wore on me after a while. I just kind of got used to them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we got to deal with. But it'll be kind of cool to see some new uniforms and to see some new helmets. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see what happens. I would hope they're drastically changed as opposed to what we have right now. I'd love to see more with the pirate ship, because if you know anything about me, I'm a pirate ship guy, right down to the tat. I love the pirate ship. That's my thing. And that's one thing I'm always biased when other people talk about their stadiums. I'm like, we have a freaking pirate ship at our stadium, so shut up about your stadium. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And I would love to see a Bucks pirate ship on the jersey, a bigger version of it. I think that would be kind of dope. So this is probably me being biased, if anything. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for chatting with me, hanging out with me here. I'm going to try to get this going again. I want to get Michael Pless. I'll have Michael Pless on, see if I can get him on next Wednesday. If you're following me on Twitter, hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. I'm not big on the whole mailbag thing, but I love getting your questions. I love answering your questions and responding to how you guys are talking in the chat. I always say that this is the best chat of a lot of podcasts, because, you guys aren't fighting with each other, and people make a comment and, you just kind of roll with it. So you guys are appreciated in that manner. Jeremy St. John, what's going on, man? I am making a return. I've had a lot of people that have hit me up on Twitter and like, hey man, where you been? Have you been on? And I went on vacation. I went to Europe most of December. And, when I got back, I just got relaxed and got lazy. And then all this stuff happened, when the Bucks, when they lost to Atlanta, I was frustrated because I hate Atlanta. And I just don't like seeing the Bucks lose to Atlanta ever if they don't have to. So again, I think it's going to be a cool season this year. I think the Bucks will do better. I definitely expect to see more. Let me get back to the jerseys here. I want these jerseys in the background. I want these jerseys in that background picture. Maybe a darker pewter pants. Keep the helmets. There you go. I wish they would kind of go back to the original pewter. Maybe even a darker colored pants would be dope too. and then have more of the creamsicle in the white uniforms. I don't know. But again, it's exciting that they are making these changes. This is something they need to do. I'm sure Nike was happy about, designing this and coming up with something else. And, it's always going to help them out a lot. Black and orange. Hey, do you guys remember the black jerseys? The black jerseys with the red sleeves? Those jerseys were dope, and I always knew that those were going to eventually be jerseys the Bucs were going to use. I don't even think you can get those jerseys anymore. But those were like my favorite jerseys that never really came out to be used, actually. The official alternate we never wore, that's them right there. I don't even think you can get those anymore. Black and orange, that would be pretty dope too. And then you just reverse those colors, man. That would be kind of fresh right there. Can the Bucs make some noise this season? Absolutely, man. You saw that offense with no running game. You saw what that offense could do. So just imagine if they get a more balanced attack, there'll be a nightmare for defenses. And it is what it is. I had a black Cadillac Williams jersey. Was one of the best jerseys I've ever owned. Those jerseys were bad. I had a Derek Brooks one, a black one with the red sleeves. Man, and I was like, man, those jerseys are cool, but they never got to break them out. All I want to see is the Bucs go to the playoffs in my lifetime. Bro, it's going to happen. You heard it from me. Trust me. It's going to happen. I see it happening. It's interesting. Colin Cowherd was talking about some of the worst run teams. And I swore I was just expecting him to drop the Bucs name, but it didn't come up. I like the owners. I personally like the owners. And, having met Hugh Culverhouse in my lifetime, I definitely like the owners. I think that, that's an upgrade over what was originally here. So there's that. But it's going to happen. Triple bar, got to have faith. And I'm going to give you a case in point. You got the Kansas City Chiefs fans are finally getting to celebrate going to the Super Bowl and winning it all. And let me tell you what, there's nothing sweeter than being long-suffering for 2 decades before getting to actually win a Super Bowl. And, for me, it was an emotional time. I'm telling you what, when Tampa shut down the dump and Rondé Barber got that interception, I just knew I knew there wasn't a team that was going to beat Tampa. Whoever it was, Tampa was not going to lose in the Super Bowl, and that was my whole mindset. It didn't even pop into my head that the Bucs could potentially lose. And then when I found out they were playing the Raiders, I really knew. So again, man, just hang in there. You just got to be long-suffering. That's what makes fandom the best, is when you get to reap the benefits, winning a playoff game, winning 2 playoff games, winning a NFC championship game. Those are things that you will never forget, and they're going to always stick with you. So, again, it's just about being patient. I think it's going to happen in your lifetime. I'm sure it will. You see what Kansas City went out and did. The Eagles. You see what the Eagles went out and did. I mean, you look at, I don't know, Tennessee came close. Just every year it could be that year, just based on, the talent that the Bucs have and, how things fall, no injuries and, just schedule and just a whole lot of other things. It just kind of depends on how everything falls. I don't think fans will support the team unless Jameis is gone. So many fans hate him. Again, XLU Garvey, you make an interesting point, but to counterpoint that, I'm just going to say, whoever's under center, and that's who I'm rolling with. I like Jameis. I personally like Jameis. I've been a Winston fan since he's been here. I've been disappointed by a lot of his play, but ultimately, if he's gone and they bring somebody else under center, I'm a Bucs fan. I'm not, Jameis is okay, but I'm a Bucs fan. So to me, yeah, I understand what you're saying. A lot of fans don't like him. If he gets his team to the playoffs and he wins a playoff game, it'll bring some people over to his side. But he's got to do this himself. He's got to be the one to silence the critics. I mean, it can't be me on this podcast saying, hey, Jameis Winston this and that and throwing up stats. No, he's got to go out there and silence his critics. And that's the only way that he's going to get that respect is by going out there and, leading this team and doing what he needs to do. So, again, like I said, I mean, if they brought in Phillip Rivers, I would begrudgingly, follow this team. I want this team to win. I'm not that guy that's like, oh, I don't like this guy, so I don't want this team to win. That's madness. I want this team to win regardless who's under center. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And, I'll be riding with whoever's under center. I'll be riding with him. I mean, they brought in some players. The Bucs have rolled out players over the years that I was like, wow, why are you bringing this guy in here? But I ended up, hey, he's on this team. Albert Haynesworth was a great example. Hated Albert Haynesworth. I thought he was a slug. And then they brought him in here. I'm like, oh, okay, he's on this team. So here we go. Let's roll. That's kind of how you have to, it's kind of how you have to look at fandom. And that's kind of why I've gotten away from fantasy football, because I won in 2015. The last time I played, 2015, I won with Matt Ryan was on my bench, and I was actually rolling with Ryan Fitzpatrick was my starting quarterback. And then I thought after that, I was like, why am I rooting for this clown? I don't even like him. And it just came to the point that I was like, I no, it's not me. So I don't get into fantasy football. I like watching people play and I like watching their reactions and whatnot, but I just don't get into it. I'd rather just root for this team and root against everybody else because it's just where it's at. But anyway, folks, that's pretty much it for me. Winston gives us the best chance. Mariah Snyder, Winston gives us our best chance to win, being his second year in our scheme. Starting in a new system is hard for any quarterback to learn. If he can't hack it after this year, then the Winston era should end. You know what, Mariah, that's what I was saying earlier this evening, was that, he should get a chance to ride it out. Just at least one more year. Let's see what he can do. I'm curious to see if he turns it all around. Personally, I'm curious to see if he does. But like I said, at the end of the day, ultimately, if it came right down to it and he ended up going to another team, I'm rolling with whoever's under center, but I would like to see what Jameis Winston can do. I've never seen a 5,000 yard passer on this team in my lifetime. And that was incredible to watch. I mean, I understand the interceptions and all that. I put all that to the side and just watch what he was able to do with the wide receivers he had. And I have to tell you, it was exciting to watch. Going back and watching the replays from his season, discounting the interceptions, it was actually fun to watch. Just watching those touchdowns that he threw and just some of the passes that he made. I mean, I really, again, I hope that he can bounce back. I think that he will. He's never thrown 30 interceptions in his career. So I would only have to believe that he would get better and improve from what we saw last year. Let's see. I'm going here. And thanks a lot, guys. Could the Bucs get Hunt or Gordon? That's a possibility. You could see Kareem Hunt or Josh Gordon. Again, anything's a possibility. Kwame Richardson, what's going on? Anything's a possibility. You just have to upgrade at that running back position. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do in free agency. So that's kind of where I'm at, is just, watching who's available in free agency. And, as like next week, I'll definitely have a lot more answers as to, who I would potentially like to see, as far as free agency goes. Because, getting to talk with you guys, it made it a lot more fun, and I'm actually looking forward to next week. So this will definitely be fun to And what I want you guys, I want you GMs out there, get your names together next week for free agency, because I want to hear from you who you guys want to see come to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for free agency. And I'm just going to that's your homework for the week, is to come back and let me know what you're thinking here on, as far as free agency goes. And then once we get past that, we can kind of talk a little bit about, what's going to happen with the draft, and that. But I would say we really need to get past free agency to see who Jason Light brings back and who Jason Light brings in order to get a better understanding of what needs the Bucs are going to have as far as the draft goes. So that's it for me, man. Again, XLU Garvey, thank you. I love doing this. This is fun. I try to stay as neutral as possible, because I've seen a lot of people that have trashed the GM or trashed the quarterback or trashed this guy. And I just think that I think it's unfair, because if he has a bounce back season, then what do you got to say? So I'm just that guy. I'm just like, I love Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is a blessing and a curse to me, and I love the guy. I just love watching him play. So, but ultimately we'll have to kind of see what happens. I also think he'll get better. I hope they keep the offense together. Maybe add a lineman or running back in free agency, or the draft. Most important, Mariah, you are spot on. You're calling it. There you go. That's kind of where I'm at. Again, I think a good running back, changes the whole dynamic of this offense. If they get a good running back, you're talking about a totally different team. So, that's something that the Bucs have not had that type of running back since Doug Martin in 2015, when he was the number 2 running back in the NFL. So it's been a long time. It's been that running back by committee, and it hasn't been very dynamic over the past, I would say, 4 seasons. So it's something they need to, really look at, and hopefully it's something they can fix. Blowing big leads. Oh no, that's Atlanta, buddy. Bucs fans are used to complaining even when we don't have anything to complain about. That's that's what makes Bucs fans so unique. And that's why, if you're following me on Twitter, you can hit me up. Follow me on Twitter at Buc What You Heard. Hit me up. I'll definitely follow you back. I love talking football, and as we're getting closer and closer and closer, March is rolling around, and then we're getting closer and closer to free agency. We're going to see some moves made. I want everybody to keep your cool. Keep your cool. If the Bucs do not make any moves immediately, keep your cool. Let's wait and see what they do. Don't get all in your feelings and think the Bucs aren't going to do anything and the GM is trash and I hate this team. Just relax, take a deep breath, and let's wait and see what this GM does, what Bruce Arians, what they collectively do to bring in some free agents to kind of help this team. More than one lineman for sure, right tackle and a guy that can play guard or tackle. Donovan Smith starts playing poorly. He played better this year, though. Oddly enough, he in the first part of the year, I wanted to launch him into the sun, but I think he stabilized a little bit and he got a lot better. So, again, it's just one of those things. Just kind of stay the course and, upgrade where you can. If there's somebody else that they can bring in for competition, let's see that. I definitely, coming away from this, talking to you guys, I want to see more competition at the wide receiver spot, possibly number 3, number 4, especially. I want to see who they bring in and who pushes for that number 3 and number 4 spot. And you got guys like Scotty Miller and my guy Randy Watson out there. These guys, they got to get pushed or bring somebody else in that will be able to make those plays. Again, another position tight end. You've got a guy like O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard is somebody that I would possibly consider trading. I know you'll probably kill me for saying this. I would consider trading him, just because I think you've got Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate is rock solid. If you bring Jameis Winston back, you have to keep Cameron Brate, and you have to consider trading. You have to consider trading OJ Howard. Got to consider it. It should be on the table to possibly move this guy to another team. I just don't think this offense is very tight end friendly. Not very tight end friendly. However, I think that, with him, and I guess the injuries is one of the things that bothers me, that, he's one of those guys that, you can't keep him on the field. I understand injuries happen in the NFL, but the guy's not helping you win if he's on the sideline. So, I mean, it's just kind of where we are. Let's see here. Somebody was talking about Perryman. I saw that. Eric Harden he's going all Madden on me here, talking about bringing in Josh Gordon as a number 3 receiver. Wow. We need a tight end who can block. You know what? The prior, I'm going to say this, and for what he does, OJ Howard can block. He's a good very physical tight end, but it's just as far as some of the other qualities, they just haven't developed in the NFL yet. So I don't know. Maybe I should be patient. What do you guys think? Maybe I should be patient talking about trading him. But when I look back on it all, it looked like a good move at the time, because here's a guy you thought was going to be a top 10 pick in the draft, and he dropped all the way down to 19, I believe. And it was one of those moves where, you have a guy that like this that falls in your lap, you got to pick him. And, it didn't work out, which really shows you the uncertainty of the NFL, because I tell you what, the majority of it is from the neck up. It's where the majority of it. Physical attributes, yeah, I understand physical attributes, but at the end of the day, if you don't have it from here to here, you're not going to prosper in the NFL. And that's just how it is. And like Trip Bar says, OJ was used for blocking this year, like in his college days. Howard needs to stay in the jugs machine. Could be a Pro Bowler. I think the Pats probably try to make another go at OJ. I didn't realize they tried to grab him before, so that's interesting that you say that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. I will be back on Wednesday, I promise. This has been so much fun. Try to get back on here consistently. As a matter of fact, I will get this downloaded onto iTunes or wherever the heck I put it at, or something like that. I've just been so lazy. I know. Horrible. I will get better. And one thing, like Trip Bar said, go Bucks. The Super Bowl is going to be in Tampa. I will be going to the draft. I will be at the draft. And I will be at a couple of games this year, but I do plan on being at the Super Bowl, NFL experience, a couple of parties here and there, but you'll definitely see me hanging out. I loved it the 1 year they had the Super Bowl and Gasparilla was real close, and that was a blast. I'll never forget that. So again, you cross your fingers, you hope they can work something like that out again. That would be so dope if they did. But anyway, I want everybody to be safe. As Kwame Richardson said, be safe, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat. As a matter of fact, I can do the roll call here. I forgot about y'all like that. Douglas O'Connor, iPeter747, XLU Garvey as usual, Auschwitz wins. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Ron Allen, thank you so much. David Villanueva, thank you so much. Eric Hardnett, of course, my man, with all the tough questions out there. Triple Bar. And if hopefully I'm not missing anybody here. Sean Castillo, thank you so much. Dub, thank you. Rex Dillon. Rex Dillon, if you get a chance on Twitter, Rex Dillon is a member of the Buckaholics. If you don't live in Tampa, you don't live in Florida, there's got to be a Buckaholics chapter near you. I think they're in like 25 states so far. They may be in more. I need to get back in touch with them and see. But definitely a good follow. Let's see, who else am I missing here? Before I jump off, Douglas O'Connor, The Prior 80. And let's see, who else? Oh, Tampa Supreme. 813 Tampa Supreme and longtime listener. Jeremy St. John's, longtime listener. What's up? Thank you guys again. Kwame Richardson, long time. K1 Stella. And Mariah Snyder, thank you so much. I appreciate all your comments. Again, guys, I am really gonna work hard to get some of you guys on. I love the content, and I'm really working on a way to. If you have a computer, laptop, something that I can shoot you a link. Something I can shoot you a link. I'll try to get you on. I'd love to get some of the listeners on here. I kind of failed last year, but I'm gonna make up for it this year and see if I can do a little bit better. But anyway, that's pretty much it for me. And I just want to have a good. I want you guys to have a good night, and I will talk to you later.